Hello and welcome to Elville and Associates. Hope you're having a great day thus far. My name is Jeff Stauffer, Community Relations Director with the firm, and I'll welcome you to our webinar today, part of our wellness series. And our topic for discussion is health, healing, and low stress through the holidays. And our special guest presenters today are Dr. Michelle Fritsch and Ms. Ellen Platt, who have led all of our wellness series webinars throughout the years. And they're wonderful friends to the firm and many through their work in retirement wellness. And it's a pleasure to welcome them back today. I think this is about our 20th presentation, which is hard to believe, but there's a reason for that. So we want this to be very interactive, and we're going to unmute all attendees during the presentation so you can share your thoughts at any time that you'd like. And there's also some links in the chat on your panel on your screen that Michelle and Ellen will be referencing. And there's also there's also a handout that they'll be referencing as well, and also the presentation slides if you didn't receive them for some reason. And everyone will also receive a post-webinar feedback email right after the presentation. So take just a couple minutes to fill this out and share your thoughts with us. And we always read and appreciate everything that you have to share with us. And here at the firm, at Elville and Associates, we always work every day with individuals and families with the ideals of client education, collaboration, and compassion. And we're always available for consultations to discuss your family's planning needs and look forward to being a resource to you when the time is right for you. And what does estate planning have to do with health, healing, and low stress? Well, pretty much everything. For people that have been on our presentations before, Steve Elville always says that planning is goal-driven. Many times it comes down to love and ensuring that you're taking care of yourself and others, and you should make sure that you're taking care of yourself as well, and planning ahead does just that. So I want to introduce our presenters today, Dr. Michelle Fritsch and Ms. Ellen Platt. I'm going to give them a brief introduction here. And Dr. Fritsch is a board-certified geriatric clinical pharmacist with a passion for healthy aging and education. She is a specialist in medication use, prevention, and retirement wellness. She is the founder of Retirement Wellness Strategies, a one-on-one concierge retirement wellness portfolio planning program, and co-founder of Propel Comprehensive Wellness. She works with a broad definition of health. This is what I think is really interesting. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social, aligned with purpose in each phase of life. And her career has included academia, advanced interprofessional geriatric teams, creating a nonprofit within a health system that served the underserved, medical missions, student services for the underserved at Baltimore, and much more. And also presenting is Ms. Ellen Platt, founder and president of the Option Group, LLC. She is a certified rehabilitation counselor, certified care manager, and a certified aging LifeCare Manager. And she has over 30 years of experience providing care management, advocacy, placement, and care coordination services to those with catastrophic injuries, chronic diseases, disabilities, and those that are aging and navigating longevity. And through the Options Group continued expansion, Ellen's dedicated to serving more clients with even more services now into the future. So welcome to both of you. Really appreciate you both being here. You've both been client care program event presenters for us in the past, and we don't choose just anybody for those very important presentations. There's a reason for that. Dr. Fritsch is coming back up on December 7th from North Carolina to present at our our fourth quarter event for the CCP. So looking forward to seeing her then. So I will turn it over to both of you.
Thank you so much. So when we were talking about how do we approach the holidays this year, we're like, wow, the world has a lot going on, and feels like there's stress coming from a number of angles. So what if we took this sort of more calming approach? How to maintain your health through the holidays, how to find healing if the events of this year have been especially difficult for you, and how do we just keep the holidays from being a high stress event, but rather let them be the time of Thanksgiving and family that we probably all like for them to be. So Ellen's going to kick us off in that vein, and then we're going to give you some very tangible things that you can start using right away.
Thank you. So we're going to start with a little bit of exercise, an exercise this morning, just to kind of get people to kind of tune into their bodies, slow their mind, their thought process. I know we get up in the mornings and we hit the ground running and have lots of things to do on our to-do list. So what we're going to do is just a quick exercise. I'm going to invite you to just close your eyes, put your feet flat on the floor, get comfortable in your chair, your hands on your laps or on the armrest if you have them, and just take a couple of big breaths. Take them in through your nose, go as deep as you can, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then slowly let it out through your mouth. So we're going to activate the vagal nerve by breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just do that 4 or 5 times and just feel the relaxation. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And we're going to try to clear your mind a little bit. Just focus on your breathing and try to let the
Ellen, I think you're muted.
Yeah, I was muted there. But just letting people breathe in through the mouth, or in through the nose rather, and out through the mouth. I want you to tune into your shoulders and your neck, because that's an area where we often hold a lot of tension and stress. And I want you to imagine as you're breathing in, you're breathing fresh oxygen into that area. And as you exhale, you're exhaling that tension and all those other things that you don't need along with it. So focus a few breaths doing that. Breath oxygen in and the tension out. Now just do a quick body scan and see if there's any other areas that feel tense. Maybe your low back, maybe your face or your jaw. Just do a body scan and see if there's any areas that could use a little bit of breathing. And focus your breathing, the oxygen into that area, and release the tension when you exhale.
What a difference that makes. We should probably do that a few times a day, should we not?
Yes, it's a great way to center yourself before you start a meeting or an activity. Just gives you a way to kind of just get yourself ready and relaxed to be able to go in and kind of, we've talked about before, using that lizard brain where you're constantly on the go and not stopping and mindfully deciding what you want to do. So this is a way to kind of get you set for that.
And maybe not close your eyes, but this breathing and this releasing the tension is something you can do even in the midst of the dining room table if people are talking about things that make you uncomfortable. I know I've used it before.
Yep.
So how many of you are going to be the host or at least a big part of the planning for upcoming holidays? We want to start with you and steps for how you can take care of yourself, because it's very hard to be all for everybody else if you're not also taking care of yourself. So what are some things you'd recommend that we be cognizant of during these holidays, Ellen?
Well, some of the things on the list are a great place to start. It's just, getting organized with your schedule and making sure that you're setting aside time to have regular meals and hydration throughout the day and getting that sleep at night.
Absolutely. And just keep moving. We can kind of get into task mode where we're trying to get something done. We do it at work, but we can do it with our cookie baking and our holiday preparation as well, where we're kind of in one physical stance for a prolonged period, and that can just cause all sorts of tightness. So just recognizing that, and maybe turn on that holiday music and have some movement really helps your body and also kind of helps clear your mind.
If anybody in the audience has a trick or a tip or something that they do to take care of themselves, especially this time of year, please put it into the chat and we'll share it with everyone.
Yeah. And we're going to have a question for you to answer for us in a minute. Sleep is so important. And when your day gets busy, when your to-do list gets long, it's usually the first thing that gets carved out. But sleep is when our body restores itself. It is when we, our brain is clearer when we've had a good night's sleep, and we tend to problem solve a lot better. Our body heals itself in so many ways when we sleep. That sleep is critical. And so let us know if you have trouble sleeping, because so many people do. And one of our gifts to you is a whole bunch of sleep tips to help you that include, Jeff and I were just talking about that, reading at night rather than media, rather than your phone or your television or the news. Reading, especially if you're reading something fun. Lavender and other scents that relax you. There are a number of sounds out there that can kind of keep your brain from racing. So if you go to like YouTube and you look at these colored sounds, there's white noise and pink noise and brown noise, making sure that you're the right temperature to sleep. Anything you would add, Ellen?
Sometimes one of the things that I do is I'll go on my phone and I'll find like a relaxing recording, and it might have sounds of nature, it might have a waterfall, it might have a thunderstorm. There's different things. There's sounds of the beach, and I just kind of mix it up. I explore, see if I can find something, and then I'll put that on as I'm kind of drifting off to sleep, or if I wake up at night and just can't get back to sleep, sometimes I'll put that on to help.
I like that. And most of us have to get up at some point during the night to go to the bathroom. That's okay, but minimize the light. Don't fall on anything, but minimize the bright light, and then use a technique like Ellen just led us through to help yourself get back to sleep after you've been up. So we hope you enjoy those tips. Any questions, comments? Anybody want to say anything about sleep, or maybe some tips that work especially good for you? All right, we'll keep going, but let us know if you have things you want to share with us. Do you ever feel like you, and I laugh because I do this, you spend so much energy getting ready for your guests to arrive that by the time they get there, you are worn out? Tell us in the chat, or come on and tell us if you've ever done that. So Ellen, what are some ways that we can maintain our stamina so that we're ready when guests arrive and we're ready to fully engage and enjoy them?
Some of the tips I use are setting things up early in a crock pot so that by the time everybody comes for dinner, it's done cooking on its own. That's been a great thing for me. So you're not doing everything leading up to it. You're putting some stuff in, and then it's kind of ready when dinner is there. Preparing things the day before might be a help, so you can divide up the workload in 2 days instead of 1 day, or ask for help. If you have people coming over, I know in my family, people love to do a potluck, or somebody takes a certain dish and brings that. So you kind of lighten the load by dividing and conquering.
Our Thanksgiving in particular, that's what we do. Everyone has their own dish. And now that my kids have grown, they bring their own ingredients, and we just sort of divvy up parts of the kitchen and the kitchen table and the dining room table and whatever space they can find. And we're all assembling food and cooking at the same time, which is one of my absolute favorite parts of the whole experience. This part about the times of day when you have more energy, there is no doubt that some people are morning people, some people are late night people. We all get our best energy and our best ability to think and do at different times of the day. So knowing that about yourself, plan accordingly. And it doesn't have to be the same as somebody else, a friend, or even somebody else in your household, but optimize the time when you work best and kind of plan your day accordingly. I think a lot of times we don't think about that. And sort of outside of holiday meals and holiday preparation, in general, I find that people really struggle to ask for help. And Ellen, when I think about an aging life care manager, that's pretty much what people are doing. When your phone rings, it is someone asking for help. Do you find that they've done that quickly and readily, or that they've done they've put it off as long as they could, so they're really in crisis when they call you?
Yeah, that often happens. They want to be independent. They want to do it themselves. They think they're being weak by not doing it all and being Wonder Woman or Superman, either one. But it really, it helps. It helps a lot by dividing and conquering and getting people to help. And most of the time people want to help, they just don't know how.
Yeah. So Jeff, at this point, have people put things in the chat, or are the microphones open if anyone wants to mention anything to us? We'd love for this to be interactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Microphones are open, everybody. You might need to unmute yourself, but on my end, everything is open and you can comment at any time about anything. And we also have our questions panel there that you can note comments or questions or best practices for yourself to share with everybody.
Excellent. Here we go. This goes in line with everything that we've talked about, but what are the ways to decrease stress? So we just talked about maybe instead of one person being responsible for the meal or the gift purchasing or the gift wrapping or whatever the task is, that you work on those things together, make it more of a fun gathering kind of event. I know just yesterday, my neighbors who have very young children have asked if all the Christmas gifts can be delivered to my house. And then we'll have a wrapping party before the day comes. That is going to be so much fun. So they see it as imposing on me to ask this favor. And I'm like, oh, yay, I get to be part of this. It's going to be a lot of fun. How about you, Ellen? What other things would you add for decreasing stress?
We talked about doing the potluck, but there are some other suggestions on there. Some people have been catering, or a lot of restaurants have been doing that for Thanksgiving, is opening up their doors, you make reservations and everything's done. Or some of the grocery stores are putting together a Thanksgiving meal for 10 and you just buy it by the person. And sometimes simplifying the menu. I know that I'm guilty for having absolutely every dish you can think of for Thanksgiving, but it's a small group, and so we end up having way too much food. So I'm getting better at that, but for sure that's one way to simplify things. And I think it's important to remember that we need to keep our support network with us. Find your support people. You have a great friend, or you have a family member that you confide in, or maybe you have a professional counselor. Don't forget, I know we get busy and think, oh, I'll just skip that. And sometimes that's the times when we need it most, when we're under a little bit of stress, to be able to have that. So I know some people like to do 2 things at once. And so get your good friend, go to lunch and do a little bit of holiday shopping while you're out together, and you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. But there's ways that we can do that. Or while you're standing in the grocery store line and you're just really stressed and need to get out there and there's 5 people in front of you, that'd be a great time to pull out the exercise we did at the beginning. Again, just to give yourself a minute to kind of tune into your body, do some breathing, get rid of some tension, and recenter yourself.
I'm putting something in the chat. For the first step of Propel, if anyone uses our services, the first step is this thing called the Life Purpose Scan. And that is just a 10-minute scan that quickly determines your self-talk. Is it causing you to stay in a stressed mode with a lot of negative self-bashing kind of things? Or is it allowing you to be in your very best mode? And so the scan gives you a quick insight of where you're probably holding yourself back with this self-talk. And then we come alongside you and kind of walk through it with asking questions to help you figure out where you could improve that self-talk. Because boy, data shows that we tend to be repetitive in our self-talk and most of it is negative. But with really thinking about it and being mindful of it, you can change that. And I want to add one more. At the bottom, we talked about experiences versus things. Rather than a gift that's an object, experiences are fun. And we experienced that this year in our family. We had a really big birthday to celebrate, and everyone pooled their money for this very nice Airbnb. And we went hiking in this beautiful part of Southern Ohio. So it was the experience of the family being together in this one giant house that had lots of fun things to do and going out and exploring this gorgeous area together rather than gifts. We loved that. Has anyone else done anything like that you want to share? Or my neighbors across the street went to the Pink concert last night. That was fun. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
Nope, that's okay. I was just going to say, for my granddaughter, what I had done was given her like kind of a coupon book as one of her gifts. And it was, we could go to a movie, we could go to a sip and paint or something like that, or we could go roller skating. I gave her ideas and then gave her a few blank ones for her to come up with her own things. And she has loved doing that over this past year. You know, Grania, I want to use this coupon, you know, and we'll come up with the time. So it's kind of spread out all year long, but it works out good. Like she appreciated it and I love taking her. So
That's great. That's a gift that keeps on giving throughout the year. It's a fantastic idea. And it's I'm going to be a grandmom for the first time in March. So thank you for that idea. I'm going to be using that one.
Congratulations. It's an awesome time.
You know, that's how you get your baby time. You're going to give them a coupon book. I get to hold her on this day and I get to do Love it. So thinking about yourself, another one is if you've got a day of shopping, you've got a day of cooking, what's fun for you? Don't forget to keep it fun and exciting for yourself as well. I know I treat myself to usually a goodie if I'm out and about and I just feel like I need something special. We're going to do another relaxation technique because again, our objective today is that you learn some extremely usable things that you can implement this week, next week, and all through the holidays and beyond.
Great. So this is one you might do when you have a little bit more time. So we're going to start again with the same kind of getting yourself comfortable in the chair. You're going to do a deep breathe for the count of 6. Hold for the count of 6, breathe out for the count of 6, and not breathe for the count of 6. So it's called box breathing. And you can play with it. Maybe 4 seconds each is better for you, or 8 seconds is better. Try what works for you, but try to do the same count when you're breathing in, hold, out, and hold. And just do that for about 5 cycles. If you find the thoughts creeping in, just focus again on your breath. You're counting. When you breathe in and hold it, tune into your body again. See if there's any areas that need you to get rid of stuff when you exhale. So good. I hope you noticed a little bit of difference after doing it that way. The box breathing is a good technique. It gets you in a regular rhythm and gives you something to pay attention to and clear your mind of other things.
Oh, and this is Jeff.
Another good.
You taught me that box breathing technique about 4 years ago, and I cannot tell you how helpful it has been to me over the years. When I've seen people stressed in my family, I've taught them the box breathing. Now, everybody I know knows about the box breathing because it really is a tangible difference when you take the time to do it the right way and you invest in it. You open your eyes and your perspective is fully changed, and it's such a helpful technique. I encourage it to everybody.
Thank you. That's great insight, Jeff. And I often encourage people to just, right now, as you're doing it with a group of people, it might seem a little bit mechanical. And I think, try it again, try it a number of times. And sometimes you can increase the length of time that you do it. But you're right, Jeff, it's a great, free, easy tool that's always with you that you can do even in short periods of time just to kind of refocus for the day. So thanks for sharing your experience.
And it's a great thing to get back to sleep if you need help doing that, or I find it helpful for that. I had an experience recently to hug someone who had been alone for far, far, far too long. And their whole body reacted to being touched. And it was just such a deep reminder that we're meant to be in community and meant to be with each other. And there's a lot of danger in isolation. And Ellen, I know you saw that significantly with your clients, especially during the shutdown of COVID. Can you kind of describe that?
Yeah, with the isolation of COVID, everybody kind of staying home and being alone, and people afraid to get around their loved ones, especially the older folks who might have been a little bit more vulnerable to catching COVID. Those who are declining cognitively made a huge shift, a huge decline during that time because of the social isolation. Just conversation and interaction engages our brain in a way that is really important for us to maintain our cognition, and that wasn't happening during those times. So there were some real significant declines in irreversible declines in folks who were already on the pathway of having some cognitive issues. And biologically, we have evolved to be in groups. That's how we've protected each other. That is our survival relies on that. So, it's a complex social need that we biologically have. And it's a form of safety for us. That's just how we have evolved as the human species, that we, are protected in numbers.
When we were planning for Thanksgiving next week, my one daughter has a roommate who has some significant allergies, and she was going to spend Thanksgiving alone to avoid foods that could trip her allergies. I'm like, that makes no sense. We will remove those ingredients from our recipes. It'll give us a chance to be even more creative in how we cook, but please don't spend the holiday alone. And so now she's been inviting other friends too. So I have no idea how many people are coming, but it's going to be fun. I hate the thought of people spending the holiday alone.
Yep.
And then, and this is really Ellen's specialty. What about other parts of caring? When you've got family members with all sorts of very unique needs, how do you plan a holiday gathering that works well for everybody? And I know, I'm going to throw one in really fast. I was just talking to a client who has, and I imagine some of you can relate to this, one set of grandchildren who are very well behaved, and she knows exactly kind of what works for them and what sort of activities they'll enjoy. And another set of grandchildren being raised in a very different way. And she's been thinking about how she's going to put certain items in a certain room and lock them up and kind of make the space less risky for some of the people who are going to be part of her celebration. And that's just one example. Ellen, what are some others of people that might need us to do things just a little differently to make sure it's a good experience for them?
Yeah, so just thinking about people who are older and maybe declining cognitively, we still want to include them, but again, we want to think, especially somebody with dementia, if they're sundowning, which means that they start getting agitated or, a little bit of angst about going home, whatever home means for them. It's really maybe not having the gathering between 4 and 6 when those behaviors tend to come up. Maybe it's having a brunch or a lunch or something earlier in the day. Or maybe it's having an event right after they have their usual afternoon nap, so they are feeling better and more energy at that time. Involving them in the rituals and in the family gatherings. Maybe they can't cook that big meal, but maybe they could roll the silverware in a napkin and set the table. So they're still involved and feeling like a part of the family gathering, and doing things in small doses. With children with special needs or small children, like you mentioned, Michelle, just figuring out, maybe having a few activities that will keep them engaged and keep them busy. Maybe somebody has a special game that they want to play, and you can ask that person to kind of lead the children in that game or lead the whole group in a game. It might be something they've not played before, but would be fun. Yeah. And again, one of those experiences that they'll remember. Chronic illness, for example, somebody that has Parkinson's needs to have medication at very specific times. And we want to make sure that we allow for that and remember it, set a timer, get a glass of water, make a reminder, things like that, because we don't want people to get outside of their therapeutic range for medications that they might be taking. Shift workers.
Good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, I was thinking also maybe having a place where somebody could rest, whether it's that person with some cognitive decline who's getting agitated, just a quiet place with a rocking chair or a bed where they could lay down, or somebody with chronic illness who just needs to get away and relax for a bit, kind of thinking ahead to have those safe places available.
Same thing for children. Maybe they have, with autism or ADHD, need a little bit of just downtime without all the chaos and stimulation around them. Sometimes just having a quiet spot, where it's, dimly lit or comforting, but quiet, to just allow, again, they need to center too. And this is a more tangible way for them to kind of relax and calm.
Yeah, and you mentioned shift workers, just kind of being aware what time of day is going to work best for them to really enjoy some family time. So lots of things to think about depending on who's going to be gathering with you and your family during the holidays. And we have for you another gift. It's a PDF, but it's for anybody who is a caregiver, that a way to identify the levels of stress that you're carrying. Is there anything you want to say about that, Ellen?
Yeah, you'll see it in the right side on your panel. It's called SNAP Caregiver Stress. And it really is a self-reflection. It gives you some scores to see how stressed you are as a caregiver. And one of the things that Michelle and I are always suggesting and inviting people to do is to make sure that you're taking care of yourself as a caregiver. If you're the one that's taking care of the kids and taking care of the aging parents and preparing the menu and doing the shopping, you got to make sure that you're carving out time for yourself, asking for help, bringing people in to divide and conquer, or spreading out your events so you're not so booked. Or letting things go that maybe aren't as important this time of year, and you can pick it up in January when things are a little bit quieter. So again, I know we all think we can push through things and just, only another week and I can just do it, but carving out time. I mean, I sometimes joke that I'm taking my vacation in hours instead of days or weeks, because that's all the time I have. But finding ways that help you unplug, even if it's just for a short period of time, reading a book, having some downtime, or just doing nothing for 10 minutes. Sometimes gets you the energy that you need to pick it back up.
Does anybody who's with us live have any specific scenarios that you'd like to talk about, or we could brainstorm them together? Any complexities in your plans? All right. I know in years past we have had some. Yeah, go ahead.
This year's going to be a smooth one, so no stress is coming up, I don't think.
That's amazing. And enjoy. Sounds wonderful.
I will.
I know when we've talked about this topic in years past, there have been people who have loved ones with dementia at various levels, and that does get complex. So if ever you'd like to brainstorm or talk more about that, we've both got a fair bit of experience with that, and we'd be glad to help you kind of think it through and plan timing, plan safe spaces. Sometimes having a family member kind of assigned to the one with dementia who's really looking for those signs that they need to get away or that something is agitating them can be helpful. All right, this feels like the hot button topic for this year. Feels like so many things are changing and so many things that people might end up talking about at your holiday table between the elections, world events, just, I don't know about you, it just feels like there's such an element of change and this hum of stress everywhere. Seems like a lot of people around us have just shorter fuses. They get angry or disgruntled or offended so much more easily. Is it just me feeling this, or is anyone else feeling this?
You're not alone, Michelle. You're not alone.
So I know, especially in the days right after the election, I had some friends who were just so blown away by what happened. And we spent a lot of time talking about, okay, here's this thing, and here are all these worries that you have related to it. But what are the ones you can actually do something about? And if there's not a thing you can do, what is a way that you could release it? And that sounds so much easier than it is. So how could you sort through and even ask yourself, can I do anything about this thing that's suddenly worrying me? And do I need to hang on to it and be proactive, or do I need to let it go? What would you add to that, Ellen?
Some people like to be proactive. If it's something that they're feeling like they need to do something about, they don't know what. A lot of times it is just educating yourself on the issues or on the conversation or on the debate. Think to yourself, like, what piece of information do I need to be able to decide if this is something that I need to do something about or worry about? A lot of times it is just getting the education you need. I don't suggest Dr. Google to be the one that you're relying all your information on, but find a reputable source of information to really educate yourself on what the issues are and see if it's something that you have the ability to do something about, or maybe you're like, it's not really something I need to worry about. Now I understand it, or now I see what the debate is all about, and I can form my own opinions about it. That's a big part. It's just educating yourself on what this fuss is about.
It's a good point. And another thing is to shift your focus toward the things that you can impact. I was so grateful for this. A couple of weeks ago, a friend invited me to a cafeteria. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina now. She invited me to a place to eat that I did not know existed, but it is completely serviced by people who've recently gotten out of prison. And so they learn how to prep the food, how to prepare the food, and how to present the food. And they, over time, they learn each of those roles so that they've got meaningful work opportunities afterwards. And so it was a joy to eat there. It was a joy to support that, to talk to and meet all the people that were working there and hear their stories. So, what are those things you can do that make a positive impact on others at a time when you feel like some things are falling apart? What is that positive, good, proactive thing that you can engage with?
One of the pitfalls that I see in my world are when families get together at the Thanksgiving table and then start having a conversation about, well, what happens with mom because her dementia is so bad that and they start talking about mom and she's not involved in the conversation, and people are on completely different pages of what happened. So, and that's when people are together, so those conversations tend to come up. But I really suggest that those conversations don't happen at the Thanksgiving table when there's all these other people who might not necessarily need to be a part of that conversation. Is setting aside time at another time where you can sit down and calmly have a conversation to make some decisions and educate yourself again on best next steps, so you can have a conversation that's really more productive and more meaningful.
Good. And we know that when we do positive things, when we take the things that feel out of control and break them down into pieces that we can do something about, we do better. And seems like as good a time as any to talk about the negative effects of stress. When we let stress run amok and we don't proactively get our arms around it and calm it down, it has so many impacts. Our whole body responds. And you've seen it, but maybe not really thought about it completely. So one of the things is your blood pressure goes up. You tend to stress eat more. I know I do. And when you do that, your weight goes up. Your risk of diabetes, your ability to control your blood sugar goes up. As your weight goes up, you tend to have more pain. When you have more pain, you tend to not sleep as well. When you don't sleep as well, you don't manage stress as well. And that becomes this horrible vicious cycle. Another thing that happens in all of that cycle is your I call it your fuse. What it takes for you to go from handling things just fine to really getting angry or reacting in a way that you might regret. That's a much shorter path than it would normally be. And then another piece is the chronic stress actually weakens your immune system. So right now, it seems that everybody I know, at least one person in the family, is struggling with a cold or a virus or COVID or something. We're more at risk of that right now. And part of it is the stress levels that we're carrying around. And then when your immune system is suppressed long term, then the risk of things like cancer also go up. So for all of these reasons. Managing stress for you and allowing your family, like Jeff did, teaching your friends and family ways to manage stress is definitely to everyone's benefit. So that was a lot. What feedback do you have? What questions? We just got a short bit of presentation left, so we'd love to hear what you're thinking or what else you'd like to hear about.
Well, Michelle, I'm going to say something here that's been on my mind. Stress to me, as I've learned from you and Ellen and many other places, stress is exacerbated by not getting enough sleep. And we've talked about that over the years. That is so incredibly important in my opinion. Getting enough sleep is so critical to making sure that your stress levels go down and you're feeling good throughout the day and you have the ability to think clearly and make good decisions. Everything to me goes back to getting enough rest and taking care of yourself. And, you know, taking time for yourself, walking around in nature. We're creatures that are designed to be out and about in nature and feeling the grass under our feet and seeing a stream and being outside, and you know, also just understanding how to really let things go that aren't that important. Or you've tried to fix something for years and years and it hasn't been fixed and it's out of your control, to understand how to just let that go. And that's easier said than done, but developing good habits and creating, you know, a better environment for yourself, I think if you really think about doing it, can really relieve the stress levels. And they're never not gonna be there, but understanding how to manage them better is just so important for all of us. So I'll get off my horse.
Agree. No, it's good. Another gift we have for you is a link to our wellness tips in these complex times, because we're living in times that are different than people have ever lived in before. And in claiming those, you will also get on our list, which you can get back off of anytime you want. But by being on our list, you will have an opportunity to get tips from us every single week, as well as know what other sorts of events and speaking opportunities that we're going to be part of that you could join. For instance, twice a month, we have what we call a Wednesday wellness chat on the second and fourth Wednesday, and we cover more health tips in each one of those. So we invite you to join us for those things so that we're all learning and continuing to grow together in these complex times. So when you think about holidays, one of the really fun parts is reminiscing about the beautiful holiday memories you already have, but also making new memories. Does anybody have any favorites they want to share? Or Ellen, what tips would you have for people to make this an occasion of making fun memories?
Yeah, I think what's important to a lot of people is just that legacy of past rituals, you know, people in the family that maybe we want to carry on, whether it's our ethnicity or maybe it's just something funny that we always do as a family, and just carrying that on and teaching the next generation, and making it still a part of the fabric of our family and of the holidays. So some of that might be a spiritual gathering that we have. It might be certain foods that we like to eat, going to our faith community, having gatherings throughout the holiday season as opposed to everybody at once. Sometimes it's creating a new tradition. Instead of giving presents to all 50 family members and extended family members, maybe it's some people do a Secret Santa where they are assigned a person as a surprise and you've got to give them that gift, but that's the only gift you have to get. Kind of simplifies it, makes it more of an experience when, the surprise of who got it and was it something that was exciting or has a special story to it. decorating, you know, having certain meals together, going to see the Nutcracker. I mean, there's all kinds of things that families like to do, and it's just carrying that forward and being creative. And like the one person on the webinar that has the coupon book for kids, I mean, that's something you can grow with the kids and their children as they age. So it's a great thing. Be creative.
Yeah.
One thing I can
Our
suggest
family
is make a cookbook for like the different family recipes. The
Great
family
idea.
who
Yes.
makes the best stuffing for the turkey, who makes the best birthday cakes, who makes the best holiday cookies. You know, you can just have a little family cookbook. And if you're really creative, you could even maybe get pictures of that person making that recipe and put that in as kind of a scrapbook to go with the recipes.
That's a great idea. And I know my father
Love
is
that.
really into genealogy. And so he's doing research all the time. And sometimes you know, we end up being the beneficiaries of that information. We learn things about our families that we didn't know.
My family has a Thanksgiving tradition. We have a book, just one of those little, you know, notebook things, and we call it the Thanksgiving book. And whoever's at the table with us, we pass a dice around, and you roll the die, and whatever the number is, you just state that many things that you're thankful for. And sometimes we go around the table once, and sometimes we just keep going round and round and round. And it's just really fun to hear. You end up hearing highlights of people's years and things that are going on in their lives that you might have missed otherwise.
Good idea.
Well, we thank you for joining us for this. We do hope that you take advantage of all these tips and the handouts and such that we've given, so that you can really stay focused on the fun and the gratitude parts of these holidays and relieve the stress, the pressure cooker stress. And again, just like Jeff, you might end up sharing all of this with your family members. Because we think a lot of people are experiencing excess stress right now, just for so many reasons. So just so you know, quickly, Propel Comprehensive Wellness is a product that Ellen and I offer together that allows people to plan a wellness portfolio. A lot of times we think of planning for the future as all of the financial components and certainly the legal components, all the things that Elville does, those are critical. But sometimes people don't plan for the health, how to navigate this changing healthcare system, how to take care of their risk factors, how to really know who they're going to be and their purpose on the other side. So we broke all of that down into this tiny little step-by-step process that you can access through a platform online that allows you to dive into all of that 3 minutes at a time. We just really broke it down into the tiniest pieces, because we know that we're all super duper busy. So we would love to tell you more about that if you're interested. And any other questions, comments that anyone wants to share?
I have a question because I couldn't find anything chat or any kind of links that you were talking about. I couldn't get them to show up. So are they, if I went on to this website, would I find those things there?
Not on the website, but I believe you'll receive them all when Jeff sends you the follow-up after the presentation.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll mention that in just a moment.
Thanks.
There was one other suggestion I have for, like, if you have trouble sleeping or staying asleep and you're in a stressful time or there's a lot on your mind. I went through a period where, you know, you're about ready to fall asleep and you remember something you have to do. Or like when I was in school, there was a brilliant idea for my paper I had to work on the next day. But I didn't want to get up and turn on the lights. But I knew I wouldn't fall asleep because I'm going to forget it. I'm going to forget it. I'm going to wake up and that idea would be gone. So for a while, I just put like a big notebook next to my bed and a pen or pencil, big enough that clean sheet of paper, I could write down the key word or a couple of words. Yeah, I didn't have the light on. It wasn't going to be too legible, but I knew I could fall asleep because I had captured that. And then the next morning I could look at it and be enough of a trigger like, oh yeah, or like, man, that wasn't worth it keeping anyway. But I only had to do that for a short period of time. And just the idea that I didn't have to maintain that idea let me fall asleep. And then I got away from that because, for one thing, I was getting more sleep. And so my mind was more alert for the days after, and I could get away from that crutch.
Yeah. I've done that
Great
too.
idea.
So I call it my brain dump, because as I'm winding down at night, I'm thinking of all those things I didn't do today
Exactly.
or I need to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I call it my brain dump and I get it all out, and then I'm ready for
I was
bed.
in college when I started this. I had a roommate at the time that also kind of convinces you just don't turn on the light to write this down.
Good point. Very good point. Well,
Okay.
Jeff, thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you. My pleasure. Our pleasure here at the firm. And one thing I like about Propel and everything that you both do is, here at the firm, we always try to share with clients the importance of planning before a crisis happens. And is it easier to plan? It's just a rhetorical question. Is it easier to plan during a crisis when something is happening, or before a crisis, planning ahead? I think we all know the answer to that. And when it comes to your financial and legal, and also is everything that Ellen and Michelle do, taking care of yourself, now before something, a crisis happens, which we don't want to think about. But Michelle and Ellen, thank you so much. And I'll, as always, for those that are new to our webinar series, I always send out the slides again. I get the video taken care of, and I'll send that out as well. The links that Michelle and Ellen alluded to, if you can't access them in the chat, I'm going to send all those out along with the handout as well. I'll have that to you within the next 90 minutes or so. Also, the lifepurposescan.com websites and information about Propel and Ellen and Michelle's contact information. So it's a pretty long email, but hopefully full of good information, just like today. So as we go forward with our webinar series to finish up the year, we've got 3 presentations left, which is hard to believe. I remember the first presentation that we did on January 3rd with Steve. It seems like yesterday. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be, for the first time ever, being a presenter instead of a moderator. We're going to be talking about all there is to know about Elville and Associates Client Care Program, and I'm really looking forward to it. Very excited to be a presenter for the first time. So hope you'll join us for that. And on December 4th, our great friend Kelly Nelson with Maryland Able is going to be back for her semi-annual discussion about Able accounts, which is a financial tool to promote health independence and financial stability. So always look forward to welcoming Kelly and everything she has to share about Able. And then on December 13th, our last presentation of the year, trustee selection and how to choose the right one for you. If you've heard Steve talk in the past, trustee selection is arguably the most important and critical decision, and one that a lot of people struggle with as they work through their planning. So join us for that one as well. And so that's going to round out our year, and we're going to jump back into it right after the start of 2025. It's hard to believe. So thanks for being here today. We appreciate your interest in our webinar series. And Michelle and Ellen, thanks again, and we'll see you again soon. Hope you have a great holiday season, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a nice Thanksgiving. Bye-bye.
Thank you.